Hey there, I'm David Asher Brown. Today I'm going to be talking about how to read key signatures. I'm going to start this video off by talking about what a key signature is. If you already know that and you just want to get down to business, feel free to skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to briefly first tell you what most people think key signatures are, and then I'll share what a key signature really is. If I were to play a piece of music and every single time I get to F, it's going to turn into F sharp instead, well, you're going to see a whole lot of sharp symbols all over the notation. And a lot of people think that what's important about a key signature is it saves somebody the effort of having to write a bunch of sharps for F all the time. And the easier way to do it would be just to put an F sharp at the very beginning of the piece, and that tells you that all of your Fs are automatically going to be sharp. Let me show you really quick what that looks like, by the way. I'm going to use finale for this, and I'm going to change my key signature. So here's what a key signature looks like. If you have this sharp over here in the corner, it's telling you that every single time you have an F, not even if it's on that line, but any F, it's automatically going to be raised to an F sharp unless you do something to cancel it out. The truth is, it's not just there as a time-saving measure, it actually has a little bit more purpose than that. When I talk about Western music, what I'm really talking about is specifically Western tonal music. And if you don't know what that means, it's probably almost all of the music you've ever heard in your life. And without going into the details of what that means, an easy way to think about tonal music, again, almost all the music you probably have ever heard of, think of it as having a center of gravity. So for instance, if I were to play a piece of music like this, you would recognize, here's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. The piece is going to resolve on this chord, C major. I'm playing in the key of C major, but I could move that whole thing down. Let's do it in F major. I just moved it up, actually. So now it sounds the same, except everything has moved. There's a new center of gravity, and now it centers around F instead of around C. And so the key signature is meant to tell you what is the center of gravity of your piece? What is everything eventually heading toward, and how is it going to resolve? But the challenge that you might have is you're going to look at a piece of music and you might see something like this, the whole bunch of sharps here in the key signature, and you have to know what that means. What key are we in? So let's talk about how to do that. The way we identify key signatures changes depending on if it's major or minor and if we're using flats or sharps. For now, we're just going to identify major keys. We'll talk about how minor keys work in a little bit, but you need to know how to do major keys in order to identify minor keys. The first thing that we need to know is our order of flats. So I'm going to write this out and I'll explain what it means, but here's the order of flats. It's B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Okay, what that means is that if your key signature has one flat, it's always going to be B flat. Okay? Again, this is talking about Western tonal music. There are pieces out there by Bartók where, he's being influenced by other very interesting types of music that he found like in Eastern Europe. Even though it is part of the West, it's not maybe considered Western music. And he has key signatures that don't match what I'm about to tell you. But almost 100% of the time, very, very close, if you see key signatures, they're used in this way that I'm sharing with you right now. So let me change the key signature here. If we have one flat, it will always, in this system, be B flat. So anytime you see one flat, it's going to be B flat. If someone tells you write B flat, you know that that's going to be your first flat that you're going to use. If you're going to have two flats, it's going to be B and E. If you're going to have three flats, B, E, A, four flats, B, E, A, D. You get the idea. Just to show you an example, here's what happens if I have a bunch of flats. It goes in the order of flats, B, E, A, D, and G. And look over here, B, E, A, D, and G. In order to easily identify key signatures, you do have to memorize this, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. It is really important to know that, and I'm going to show you why right now. Here's how we can very quickly identify key signatures. If you have a flat key, you take a look at how many flats there are, and you go to the second to last flat. Let me zoom up so we can just take a look at that. There are 5 flats here. And I'm showing you on the treble clef, by the way, same exact thing on the bass clef, right? On both clefs, the first one is B, the second clef is E, etc., etc. The last flat is down here, G flat. The second to last flat is D flat. That's the key. It's the key of D flat major. So in a flat, you always take the second to last flat. If I had a key signature with, look at all these flats. This is the kind of thing nobody ever wants to see, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flats. All you're gonna do is go back one. The second to last flat is C flat. This is C flat major. Let's do another example here. What if I have 2 flats? 2 flats, I go to the second to last flat, which is B flat major, right? There's 2 flats here, B flat and E flat. The second to last is B flat. I'm going to tell you a trap that a lot of people get stuck in when they first start doing this. They'll look at something like this and they'll say, okay, it's in B major. It is not in B major, it's in B flat major. If you take an AP music theory test and you say this is in B major, you will get the question wrong. If you are at a jam session and you say, let's play in B major, it will not work. You have to say B flat. It sounds like minutia, but it's really not. It's a very important distinction. Okay, I'm going to do one more example, then I'm going to show you the exception to this rule. Okay, let's have, I think we did that one. Here we go. Let's have 6 flats. B, E, A, D, G, C. That's the last flat is C flat. Let's go back one, G flat. This is in the key of G flat major. Hopefully this is pretty easy. Now here's the exception. If I only have 1 flat, there is no second to last flat. So this is just something you have to memorize. If there's just 1 flat, it's the key of F major. Again, assuming we're only talking about major keys right now, 1 flat is the key of F major. That one you just got to memorize. Another way somebody might ask this, by the way, if you're taking like a music theory class, it might not look like this. They could ask the opposite. They could say, what key has 4 flats? And if that's the case, this is where you need to know B, E, A, D, G, C, F. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your 4 flats. Your second to last flat is going to be A flat major. So if there's a key with 4 flats, the key is A flat major. What if there's a key with 5 flats? Let's try it. B, E, A, D, G. Second to last flat is D flat major. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. Pretty simple so far. What happens if we're looking at a key with sharps? Okay, well for this, we need to know the order of sharps. Now, what's kind of neat is if you know your order of flats, then you can figure out your order of sharps. It's F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Let's see if you notice a pattern here. The order of sharps is the reverse of the order of flats, right? The first flat is B, the last sharp is B. So B, E, A, D, G, C, F, F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Again, this is something to memorize. And let's see what that looks like. If there are 2 sharps, for instance, they should be F and C. Well, let's take a look. Let's go to my key signature tool here. Here we go, a key signature with 2 sharps, F and C. 2 sharps, right? If there are 4 sharps, let's see if it matches up. It should be F, C, G, D. Let's see, F, C, G, D. So there's our order of sharps. But for sharps, the trick of using the second to last does not apply. We have a different way to do this with sharps. It's a little bit trickier, but it's not too bad. With sharps, we look at the very last sharp. In this case, the last sharp here is D sharp. F, C, G, D sharp. And from D sharp, we're going to go up 1 half step. A half step up from D sharp is E. So this is the key of E major. If you don't know what I mean when I say half step, it might be a good time to review how intervals work. That's the thing you want to look up. I don't have a video on that right now, but I probably will very soon put an interval explaining video talking about half steps and some other intervals that are coming up. You might also use the word semitone, same exact thing. So we're going to go up 1 half step or 1 semitone from the last sharp. So let's try another one. Let's try one. You know, actually that's kind of a tricky one. We'll come back to that in a moment. Let's try 3 sharps. 1, 2, 3. F, C, G. G sharp is our last sharp. Again, it's very important we say G sharp, not just G, it's G sharp, because we need to know it's G sharp, and then we're going to go up a half step to A. So this is going to be an A major. 3 sharps, A major. Let's try one more like this. What if there's just 1 sharp? 1 sharp is F sharp. I go up a half step and I get to G major, okay? Now, I'm going to explain a kind of tricky thing that can happen with sharps, but before I do, really quick, let me show you what happens if there's no sharps or no flats. Again, this is one you just have to memorize. This is C major. If you look at a piano, C major is all the white keys, right? So no sharps, no flats for that. Okay, let me show you something that throws people off quite a bit. Let's take a look at this one. All right, let's take a look at our sharps. We have F, C, G, D, A, E. The last sharp is E sharp. This throws people off a lot because if you look at a piano, if you play E, there's no sharp, there's no black key to the right of it, right? So actually E sharp on a piano is the same note as F. So that's the last sharp is E sharp, which sounds and looks like F. Now in order to go a half step up from that to get our key, that's F sharp major. So let me just try that one more time. So the last sharp is E sharp, right? There's no such thing as a black key to the right of E. So E sharp sounds like F. That's our last sharp. Go up a half step from that to get our key, that's F sharp major. If anything I've said is confusing so far, it probably means one of 3 things. 1, you might need to review intervals. 2, you might need to review what flats and sharps are, how they work. Or 3, you might need to take a look at a keyboard just to see the layout of what that looks like. If anything's confusing, it's probably one of those 3 things. Or if it's not, or even if it is, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll do my best to answer those questions. If you do know all of those things, then the concept for identifying key signatures is actually not that hard. What's hard is being able to do it very quickly. And the good news is it really doesn't take much time to be able to do that. A website that I recommend using for that is called musictheory.net. I don't have a sponsorship or anything with them, but it is a website that I think is really nice to use. There are exercises there where you can experiment and you can time yourself and you can do challenge mode and you just try to get faster and faster as you go. Now that you know how to identify major keys, let's talk about minor keys. The thing is, every key signature could be either major or minor. So I'll show you an example of that. If I have 1 sharp, remember that would be F sharp, right? And a half step up from F sharp is G. So the key of G major has an F sharp in it. It sounds like this. If I play a G major scale, I would go from the note G up to the next note G, and every note would be a white key except F sharp, because F sharp is in my key signature. Let me just change the key signature to reflect that. Here's my key signature with F sharp, which means I could be in the key of G major. So here's all of my notes. And just so you can see another way to look at that on the piano, or on the notation rather, there we go. My F is sharp. But I could also be in the key of E minor. Let me write an E minor scale. It would be going from E up to E. And again, every note is white. It's a white key on the piano, except for F is automatically made sharp. So again, here's G major. And here's E minor. They're both using the exact same collection of keys. The collection is all the white keys except for F. F becomes F sharp. So how do we know if one is in G major or if it's in E minor? And also, how do we know that these are the 2 keys that could be using this, right? Well, if you don't know much about music theory, you could simply listen, right? Here's what G major sounds like. a certain sound quality, and E minor has a very different sound quality. So they have a very different sound quality. Some people say that minor keys sound sad and major keys sound happy. That's a pretty cultural thing, so not everybody will hear them that way, but they definitely sound different. You could also look at the very last chord of a piece. Almost always a piece will end with what's called the tonic, so that home center of gravity. If you see one sharp and it ends with a G major chord, your piece is in G major. If it's got an F sharp in the key signature that ends with a big E minor chord, your piece is in E minor. The trickier question here is when we look at a key signature like this, we look at something with F sharp in it, how do we know what the two choices are? Well, you already know how to do the major choice. You know how to go up a half step. So in order to find out what the minor key is, this is called the relative minor. It's the key that has the same key signature as the major key that it's paired with. In order to know what that is, you have to go down a minor third. Okay, that might sound really confusing to you. And if it does, you got to go back and review intervals. So look up something on intervals and how to find out intervals. I'll put up a video on it soon. So hopefully maybe that's even out by now if you're confused. And if not, you could also go to musictheory.net and look at some of the resources there. It explains how that works. But you're going to go down a minor third. So a minor third down from G is E. That's the relative minor. If I had a different key signature, and let's delete these scales so it's not confusing. Now I have 3 flats. So it could be a major key or a minor key, I don't know. Let's take a look. In order to find the major key, I look at the second to last flat, which is E flat. So this could be E flat major. Or it could be the relative minor. Again, to get the relative minor, I go down from E flat, a minor third. So it could be C minor. So if you see this key signature, it could be E flat major, could be C minor. I'll do one more example. What if we have this key signature? Remember, this is a key signature that has no flats or sharps. That one is C major. A minor third down from C major would be A minor. So it could be C major, or a minor third down could be A minor. That's really all you need to know to do key signatures. The rest is going to be practicing, getting a little bit faster at that. If you found this helpful, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in supporting some of the work I do. And if you have any questions, or if you'd like to give me any suggestions for other music history or theory or any other topics you'd like to see a video about, if you want to leave that in the comments, I definitely do my best to read all of those. And when I start seeing a lot of the same requests to do the same kind of thing, I take that pretty seriously to heart, and I try to make videos when I can.